Did you want to talk about some of the stuff we were just talking about, or do you want to talk about practice versus play?
Practice versus play is fine by me.
Okay. So let's start by, how would you define the difference between practice and play?
Cool. I think that the best way to define that difference is actually in three parts, right? I think there's play, I think there's exploratory play, and I think there's practice, right? And so to go through them sort of one by one, play is
You want to use a guitar analogy?
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly where I took the exploratory play from. But like from like a guitar analogy perspective, it's like play is like a lot of people actually don't learn songs. They learn parts of songs, right? And like I'll tell you myself, I got about 80 parts of songs that are sick, and I got them down pat. You know what I mean? But very rarely do I actually like learn the entire song or something to that effect. So play is just like for fun, but more importantly, absent-minded. Like, you're just doing it, right? Like, it's whatever, and whatever comes of it is cool, and, like, I can stop whenever, and there's no parameters around it other than, like, I did this because I wanted to do it, right?
Yeah.
I guess a better analogy in some ways is, like, food, right? Like, some people, as you can tell, they just eat to eat, right? They're just bored and like, oh, dude, there's some Ritz crackers over there? Oh, I could go for a Ritz.
Yeah, sure.
And they just keep eating, and they're not hungry, and they just keep eating, and it's whatever, right?
Yeah.
And in some ways, it actually hurts them. Similar to play, right? Exploratory playing, on the other hand, is still, there's no parameters in terms of time or whatever, but like, there's a curiosity to it, I guess is how I'd put it, right? Where it's like, I kind of want to figure this thing out, or something to that effect, right? Yeah, I just want to see what happens when I kind of do
and because of that, it's less absent-minded.
Yeah, it's less absent-minded, definitely, right? There's an approach to it, certainly. Now, whether there's an actual strict goal to it, I would say not necessarily, but like, you're noodling.
Well, it's curiosity, right?
Yeah, it's very much curiosity driven rather than absent minded or rather than like goal oriented.
Right.
And that's, I think, the difference with practice. Practice to me is it's an exercise of discipline, and it's an exercise of establishing goals and metrics and parameters for how you will go about doing something, right?
Yeah.
And that can mean, for some people, like, with debate, to be specific, obviously, like, I want to practice spreading.
Right.
And, like, the most basic level of that is, well, I'm going to go read some shit fast.
Right.
And having a fast here, having a fast there, and just kind of go. And even that, like, that's certainly practice, right? Because you've identified something you want to work on and you're doing it. But it's still not quite where I would want to be, right? Like, when I was practicing spreading, it was, okay, I have systematized it. And the way I personally systematized it was I identified critiques or blocks or whatever, and I went through the exact same approach every single time, including warm-ups, right? Yeah. And for me, the order was I would do like a pen drill, pen in the mouth, and then say the words, right? Go through the whole thing. Not full speed, certainly not full speed, more like 70% speed, but focus on clarity. Then I would do the A drill, where it's just say A between every word, so like I, A, pledge, A, allegiance, A, whatever, so on and so forth. Then I would do the backwards drill as fast as you can, reading it completely backwards. And then, only then, would I start being, and now we're booking it, and I'd build up. I'd be like, let's start at 90, let's go to 95, let's go to 100, and then let's try and go beyond. Let's go beyond clarity and just see if we can push it right as hard as we can. And I would, more than just that, like on top of the system, I would know what I was going to be reading for that week or for that 2-week period, even that month period. And I would know the word count on it, and I would record it and time it. And so I'd see how many words per minute did I do, and I'd log that in a spreadsheet, and I could compare that day to day or week to week or whatever, month to month. And it's still cool to look at that spreadsheet now. But also, when I hit plateaus, it would very clearly show in the spreadsheet, and I'm like, something has to change, figure out what the plateau is. And the way I do that is, well, let's listen to the recordings. Like, what is hampering? And this takes forever, right? Like, you know, it might take me 30 minutes to an hour to get like any meaningful practice out of it, but it was very meaningful in the end, and I felt like I was doing something. And that's the actual practice part, like in terms of that. But there's like a 2% thing that I've left out that I think is really relevant, right? Like that sort of like secret 2% or whatever that people might not be aware of. And I actually took this from a book I read right before I started college. It's called The Straight A Conspiracy. I think the author's name is Hunter Motz or Hunter Matas, something like that. He's been on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's a cool dude. he wrote a book called The Straight A Conspiracy, and the tenet of this book, which I've come to somewhat disagree with at this point, is that there's no such thing as talent. There's just people who've worked harder than you, or who are more like really talented, I guess the way to put it, like more predisposed to the thing and could practice less, or were incentivized to practice more and like just got more out of it than you, whatever, right? It's prodigies, so to speak, right? Not talent, but like a neurological predisposition or a biological. If you're LeBron James, you're just gonna be better than me at basketball no matter how much I practice, because you're 6'7", 300 pounds, whatever, right? But his thing was, and he said this very clearly right at the beginning of the book, he's like, if you only take one tip, if you don't read the rest of this book at all, here you go. This will fix everything for you. Just say when you're going to do your work, and that's it. And just do it then. And he was just like, set a time every week that is for doing the work. I am going to work on my essay for 30 minutes every Thursday at 7 o'clock. And that's it. And be bound to that. And it doesn't matter what else is going on in your life. Sorry, guys. Treat it like you would going on a date with your girlfriend. If your friends are like, hey, man, can you come out? Well, you know, some of us. No, sorry, man, I can't go. I know, the old essays. You know, we're spending some time together or whatever night.
The ball and chain.
Yeah, and that's literally how I did it with both school and, you know, and it brought my level up in school quite a bit. And, in debate. Like, I was just like, I have to practice debate. There's no option to it, right? And this is something I'm trying to get into now that I've started, like, working out more, but it's like, no, this is just when I work out, and that's it. There's no option. And, like, I wake up some days, and I'm like, I don't want it's just like, is this 30 minutes of this kind of, and then I'm like, what is this mentality? Like, get out of bed and go do the job. Like, are you kidding me? And then I just run, like, the whole way.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, which is, I can't run. Lift.
But yeah. Well, so that brings up a few things in, like, reverse order. One, I think a big reason why people sort of subconsciously resist putting up I will set this time to do this, is because it forces you to confront what you actually want. And I think a lot of people want the idea of being good at something much more than they care about actually being good at it. A
lot of people want other people to think they are good at debate.
Right, without wanting to be good.
Way more than they want to be
good at debate.
Yes,
and
totally.
that stops them from getting good analysis of how good they actually are, because they want other people to think they're good and they don't actually care if they're good or not, right? And what it also does is if you say every Thursday at 7 o'clock I'm going to do this, and it's Thursday at 7 o'clock, and you are choosing whether or not to do it, what you essentially have to tell yourself is,
I'm a failure.
well, do I want to be good at debate or do I not, right? Like, and you have to confront that and be like, okay, I don't want to be good at debate. Like, I don't care about it, right? And that's what I think is really good about the movie Whiplash, because people watch that movie. You can make a movie about being a great drummer that would make everyone in the audience want to be a great drummer. But what's brilliant about that movie, it's a movie about becoming a great drummer that makes the vast majority of the audience think, I don't want to be a good drummer. And I think that's what it needs to be. I think you're right. What separates people who accomplish certain things in, say, film or acting or academics or whatever, a lot of it is you're predisposed to certain things that are just unfair, right? Say you want to be an actor, you're better looking. Like, I don't know what to tell you. There's people who overcome the odds, but...
Shout out Steve Buscemi.
I love that guy. I think he's a good-looking dude. I don't get why everybody...
He's alright, like, just the eyes.
Anne Hathaway, I think, is...
Let's move on.
Okay. Ugly. It's a clown face. But anyway. So yeah, so there's luck involved. There's people who are predisposed to certain things. But at the end of the day, like, the number of people that the predisposition and the luck purely describes is still much higher than who you're seeing succeed. And at the end of the day, it comes down to, like, are you willing to do this thing, right? And the fact of the matter is that it's terrifying for a lot of people. Think of how many people want to be successful screenwriters, right? Think of how many people decide, great, I'll quit my job, I'll go to LA,
and write script.
And just write and go to
Sylvester
every meeting
Stallone.
I can. Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone,
and then
right?
you hear about the people who take the scary ass risk and how little it took for them to succeed. right? Robert Rodriguez made a movie for $1,000 back when you needed to buy film, and that's what cost him $1,000. He didn't spend money on anything other than the actual film, and he just made it on his own with like 4 people, got it released in theaters, became a millionaire. He started a huge film career, right? And then you think like, wow, the barrier to doing that is so little. That's all anyone had to do, right? Like, forget whether that's viable now. At that point,
Kevin Smith, same thing.
Kevin Smith,
Time, yeah.
that's all anyone had to do. Be like, I'm going to get $10,000 in credit cards, max them all out, make a movie in the only place I have to film, which is the convenience store I work in. Yeah. Make it in black and white and shutter the door so I don't have to buy color film and no one can tell that we're recording at 3 a.m. And just make a movie. And in hindsight, it seems so easy. At least not even easy, but anyone in theory could have done that. There's 10,000 people who say they want to do it.
It's survivorship bias, like what they call it, I think, right? Where it's like we only consider the people who succeeded in Hollywood with those like 1 in a million stories and ignore the 8,000 other people who
But the
failed
question
to get it.
is what accounts for the 8,000 that didn't make it? And I think a lot of it is the people who succeeded got lucky. A lot of people who succeeded had...
Luck's a big factor.
Dude,
In
Kevin
being
Smith
successful
was friends with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Right? Like...
Before they were big.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you guys want to be in my movie? Sure. You know, like, oh, like, look at these guys. They're going to be, like, the biggest stars.
Yeah.
And whatever, right? So those things do come into it, and certainly I think if you ask Kevin Smith, he would describe himself as having been lucky in a lot of ways. For example, when Clerks came out, it bombed in the screening at the festival, except one guy who saw it, and the guy was like, I think this is an incredible film. I want to pick it up, give it to Miramax, blah, blah, blah. All of that having been said, what this all relates to going back is I don't think the luck and the whatever accounts for it as much as like how many people are maxing out the credit cards and making the movie and then failing, right? When it comes to Robert Rodriguez, dude, in order to raise the money to make El Mariachi, signed up for these medical trials that they do. And yeah, he basically was in a facility. And the drug that they were the drug they were testing on him was a drug that was supposed to increase your healing speed. So what they would do is they would injure you, and then test in a controlled setting. Right? How many of the people who like are going to film school and want to make a movie are like doing that, right? And I think it comes down to like what you tell yourself you want. And what you actually want. And the other thing that I think accounts for that hugely is I think what we want shapes a significantly higher portion of our identities than what we have done. Right? Like, think about how you describe yourself and how you would describe who you are and what you are about. Usually, you describe people and yourself by what their ambitions are and not by the things that they have done. Because once you've done it, it becomes a sentence. And once it's an ambition, it's a motivating force for all your actions. So if I know what you want, that, like, it's the same thing with, like, screenwriting, right? You describe characters to the audience by what they want because that frames every choice they're going to make rather than what they once did, because that tells you nothing about what they're going to keep doing, right? And I think we have this sense of identity that comes from I'm a debater. I am someone who wants to do all of that stuff, and it's really scary to put yourself in a position to be like, I'm now going to do this thing that
I am not this, but this is what I want.
Right, that I'm not a good debater. Or like, here's where I am, this is the level of work that it's going to take to get better, and I'm not willing to do that work. Well, like, where does that put me? Do I keep debating? Do I not? And I think that is the biggest barrier stopping people from trying to get an honest, straightforward look at where they are in debate or really any activity, and then analyzing how they can improve from there. Because if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to expose yourself to how good am I right now, and then the people who are better than me, what do they say I need to do to improve?
I got 3 things. I'm put a pin in them. Go ahead, hit me.
No, that's it. That's it. Then there's no stopping you. Anyone can do that, and that's why it's coachability.
Yeah.
We always talk about being the most important thing, right? I don't want the smartest student. I don't want the student that loves debate the most. Some of the worst debaters I've known love it, right? Like we just had the intramural yesterday. It's an on-campus tournament for people who are in public speaking classes who aren't in the speech and debate team, and it's to encourage them to join. And only 4 debaters showed up. And of those 4, 2 are transferring, 2 are staying on. Both of them are signed up for the team. And one of them I didn't talk to. I don't know whether she has any like major goals or whatever, but she won all of her rounds. She got a bye in the first round, and she came and asked me like what a bye was and whatever, and I could tell from talking to her, I could look in her eyes and be like, she wants to be better at debate. And like she's disappointed because in this round she didn't get to learn, and she's going to be great. The other kid competed all 3 rounds, lost all 3 rounds, but like had a really good time and really enjoyed it and wants to be on the team. And I want someone who can lose and still enjoy it, but if the reason he enjoyed it is because he had like he got to go into a room and argue with people, like yikes, because you're just not gonna you're not motivated to be better than you are. Right? You don't need to be better than you are to get into a room and talk to people. And if all you like about guitar is just playing these songs you know, you don't need to be better than you are, so you will never get better than you are.
I had 3 things. I forgot the 3rd one now, which was the most important, but
you'll remember it once you hit 2.
Anywho, the first 2 were still. I like that we hit this sort of vein about film, because I think that Kevin Smith was to throw it back rewind. Also, like we talk about that, we're like, yeah, wow, the barrier was just maxing out credit cards or whatever and stuff, and like it seems so small, whatever.
It's insane.
But when you hear him talk about it,
he's
like, dude, I had to sell my comic book collection. That were like the most important things in the world to me. Had to beg my friends to be in the film, and when someone dropped out, just get another friend to come in and whatnot. Like it was not easy then. When he did it, it was not easy at all, and it's still not easy now. Like it's possible. This is the problem. It's like, so it is 100% possible to make Clerks right now.
Yeah.
Yours will probably suck.
Yeah.
Yours will probably fail. And then you'll just have all that day.
Right. And it's risky and it's difficult, but what I mean by easy is anyone could have done
Anyone could have, exactly. Yeah.
But they just weren't willing to. That's what makes it different.
But the thing is, what I was getting at more so there is like, and then people discredit what he did.
Yeah.
Because it was so easy.
Right.
Or because he was lucky.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And it's like, dude, who you know is a massive part of success.
But also,
it just is.
But also, like, if it was so easy, then where is everyone else who's doing it?
The second thing was, on the film vein, in terms of this talent discussion, right? Or like practice, predisposition. Quentin Tarantino, because of you, largely, I've gotten pretty
jump back, right? Like, constant criticism of Tarantino. Oh, all Tarantino does is he just takes things from other film directors and rips them off. You do it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, oh, you recognize that this was a Akira Kurosawa, whatever? Yeah. Great. Make a movie that is as good as anything Tarantino's
and so I believe that, tell me if I'm wrong, because you definitely know, but I'm almost positive this is a Tarantino thing, where it's like, he's like, people always ask me, like, where did I go to film school? Or like, what, film school. And I'm like, I didn't go to film school.
Yeah.
I went to films.
Yeah.
That is predisposition. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about like talent or something like that, right? Yeah. And this is something we talked about this earlier on this recording, but this is something you have with debate, right? It's the same thing Quentin Tarantino has with film, where when I watch a movie, I don't come away from the movie and go, I know how to make a movie, or I know what made that movie good, or what I can take from that movie to make it good. Like all those people who were like, he's just stealing people's shit or whatever. Like, yeah, he might be, but he can do it. Yeah. It is so hard to steal it and use it, right? Quentin Tarantino went to movies and said, this is what made that great, I'm going to do that and make it sick, right? You didn't go to high-level debate rounds or go to a high-level debate school and learn it. You just talked to me a lot or talked to Steve or whoever, right? And then started watching more high-level debates and now, like, can judge any of those rounds no problem and understand it, etc., right? That's predisposition, right? And you had that for debate when I met you, right? Like, you were already one of the better people at DVC or maybe the best person at DVC, but you did it without a coach, right? I did it with you and then with years of practice somewhere else. And I think that predisposition thing, like, can be overcome if that person doesn't want to work, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Tarantino
it's what
decided
you're
not to
bringing
make
into it, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I watched a lot of debates for years. Not academic debates, but like... Hitchens, right? Love that guy. And watch his videos, and like, it gives you an exposure to how you get from point A to point B, right? And like, let's say with film, right? I watched Silver Linings Playbook. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Where they dance?
Bradley Cooper and...
But is that the dancing one, or is that the...
What do you mean the dance?
There's a Bradley Cooper and what's-her-name movie, but they like dance. And Robert De Niro is the dad, who's an alcoholic or whatever.
I'm sure that's Silver Linings Playbook.
Great. Silver Linings Playbook. And I've never confirmed whether this is true, but I saw the movie and I was like, the first half of this movie was written by a different person than the second half of this movie. Or it was just changed last minute from some producer's notes. And like, that's not how it was supposed to go initially. And part of the reason I know that is because I've read a lot of scripts of movies at different stages of the writing process, right? Like, I'll know a movie really well, and then I'll read the first draft, and I'll be like, wow, this is nothing like that movie. And then once you notice all the similarities and differences, you sort of start to see, like, okay, here's what they decided to keep, and here's what changed, and probably why they changed it, and so on, right? And the reason why I know that Silver Linings Playbook had that change happen is because I know where it was going in the beginning and how these characters were written, what the situation was, and then later on, like, the tone really changes a lot, but whatever, right? So that's what that predisposition is in film, and that's how you can, like, look at something. If all you're looking at is the finished product, and you have no idea how it was made or what went into it, then you aren't coming away with very much. But it takes very little introspection once you know that, right? These things are more obvious than you think. For example, in debate, and I definitely feel this way, right? But when I watch a round, or I'm judging, and the net comes up and says, it'll be 3 off, I know what they're running. Right?
Yeah.
And it's just because, like, it's not a mystery to me. There's a handful of things that are good options to run. If you're and anytime I'm wrong about what they're running,
you're shocked, and it's or
and then they're usually bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, rarely do I watch people who, just because of the circuit I judge in, rarely am I watching people who are better at debate than me, which there's plenty of in the world. I just don't end up judging those people often. And so when you say 3 off, I'm like, great, you're running the TDA counterplan, right? Like,
well, and that's what's interesting about, like, I mean, this isn't such a thing. I guess it is somewhat at higher level PF tournaments, whatever. But like strikes and like prefs and stuff.
yeah,
Like, there's always judges like you in the pool
Yeah.
who like are a gold mine for teams who know about that judge but
Yeah.
don't know about other or
Yeah.
whatever someone else doesn't, right?
the Hal Sanfords of the
Exactly, yeah, right. Where it's
I
like,
can pick up
it's
that guy's
exactly.
battle every
that was
single time.
literally, yeah, exactly.
Like, I will get that guy's he says it. It's just other people don't listen. He's like, in order to get my vote,
These things,
do
yeah,
these
stock
3
issues,
things,
blah,
and
blah.
then you're like, great, I will just do those, and then he'll vote for you
And
every
it's
time.
like, I think the best judge just I've ever had in any event is Dave Worth from Rice.
Yeah, I don't know him well.
He just
yeah.
won this year. He actually won, like, I forget what the award is, but it's just like dopest dude in the nation. Like, and he is. He just is. He's such a good guy, and he judges so fair.
Yeah.
And he's like in that sweet spot where, like, me and Dallas would just ordinal pref him one. He is the one. Like, we don't care if we get anyone else. We want David Worth.
Yeah.
And he just like gets the round so clearly, and like even for stuff I think he's not necessarily that into, like even like maybe I wouldn't say he's not into critical stuff. Like he knows his shit. The dude's a legend, absolute legend. And everyone feels like they get a fair shake from him, but I felt like we were hustling kids.
Yeah.
I just felt like we were hustling kids, right?
Yeah.
Because we were just winning his ballot I can't even think of a time we didn't win his ballot.
Yeah.
Because we're like, no, this is what he wants to see, hopefully. Or like, he just likes this thing, you know? And there are certain judges like that who are like, I don't know, man. Sometimes it's, for me, it was always like, not necessarily layer judges, but judges who would like not do work. I want a judge who will not do work for the other team.
I agree. Because if you do work, it's unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, Dave Worth does not do work. He evaluates the round completely fair. And also, like, for a lot of these judges, and the older you get, or the more experienced you are, like, I think this is less true. But, like, dude, rep is a thing.
Oh, it's huge.
Like, bottom line, or especially, you know, college, high school, whatever, it's a huge thing. And, like, that could not matter less to, like, great judges like Dave Worth, it seems like. You know, the dude is just insane. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good. Oh, man. I just think that, like, if you can identify those judges in the pool, like okay, wait a minute, like, and this is a thing to figure out, right? Like, in college, it's different because everyone who's a coach was basically like the older
either competed successfully for a while, or they have at the very least a degree in this field and have been doing it for years.
Well, but also like there are actually colleagues, right? Like Steve and Dave are friends or whatever, right? And so I've gotten to know Dave, and Steve tells me, you know, like when you enter college, I think this is the bigger difference, right? Is like, for some of these judges who've been around forever since they're like lifers, or like Steve was judged by Dave Worth, or Steve was judged by, you know, Double D or whoever it was. And so they tell you, right? Like our kids will sometimes read their philosophies and they're like, oh, this guy, Dave Worth, they read his philosophy and like, that doesn't sound, I'm like, you put him as a 1. As a 1, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you know, and we do that with you. And I'm like, Hassan's our judge. I'll tell you what to say. Say that. And then they don't sometimes, and I'm blown away because they think they can debate about the
every round before the round. I'm like, okay, guys, here's how I feel about these arguments. Here's what I want, and then it blows my mind when people don't do
and then
it.
they get mad. Yeah, whatever.
Right, just like, well, you didn't. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want
It's
from me? Especially in a tournament where the topic's picked after I talked to them. Well, it's just like, why would you pick that topic?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sorry, I don't want to get.
Let's not get too direct.
So I think what we've established is what success takes, what having a clear, like, you have to have a clear vision of what's happening, what do people say needs to be done, am I willing to do that, am I willing to take the personal accountability and just like the identity of someone who's improving at this. Something that we've talked about before, but is worth just talking about briefly, is this is something I learned from Hawkins. Said that the best students are ones that are dancers, or what's the military training you do? Like the basic...
basic or...
what?
ROTC.
ROTC. Dancers and ROTC. Best students. And it's kind of messed up to say, but I think it's because both of these things just crush the personality out of you. Like, you've seen Black Swan, right? It's just ego-crushing, brutal, nope, that wasn't good, do it this way, or get out. And I don't want to coach debate that way, but people who've experienced that eventually learn to accept that, like, you can be bad at something, that's okay, listen to what people are telling you, and then do it that way. Or at least try to understand what, you don't have to be a robot and do exactly what you're told, but, like, don't think...
They're coachable.
Because
they've been brought up to be
coachable.
coached.
Don't get coaching and not listen. Yeah. Right? If I'm your coach and you don't want to listen to me, why am I your coach?
Yeah. And that's, you know, I had to explain that to these kids I worked with at the TOC this year, where I was like, look, your coach paid a lot of money so that I could be here. Yeah. Because they trusted me to come coach you. I don't know you. I don't coach you normally. I coach other teams that are way, way, way better, more successful than you are. And I don't even like your format that much. Yeah. But I really like your coach, and so I'm willing to come help you and stuff. And he gave me a loan. And he gave me a loan. In the battle. Yeah. Just to convince one of these kids.
Yeah.
was really difficult. And the kid was a fine kid. Like, he's a good dude or whatever.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have that personality for coaching in my
Well, it's also
style,
really
maybe,
scary
right?
to expose yourself to going down and looking stupid for something someone else told you to say.
Oh, absolutely.
But
yeah.
the people who are willing to do that
Yeah.
get better so quick.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, so...
Well, so there's one thing I want to get in. Just
Yeah.
If it's,
Yeah.
One thing I want to make clear is, and this is just sort of a mantra guiding philosophy thing, is excellence is a decision, but it's not a one-time decision.
Yeah.
And I think that is really, really important to frame competitive disciplines and practice especially, right? Like, you decide to be excellent today, rather.
Yeah.
And then you have to decide it tomorrow and the next day and every single
Look at the careers
other day.
of boxers, like heavyweight champions. You can track on a chart the day they stop deciding to...
Oh, Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor.
Oh, I mean, and to be clear, if you want to be an A-tier debater, you can do that without this.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, you can get to, I would say, 88th to 91st percentile in the nation.
Yeah.
By just working hard.
Because people aren't good at debate.
Yeah.
People are not good at debate.
Talent,
Dude,
without
you see
any
this
business.
Ben Shapiro video? God, this whole Ben Shapiro thing drives me crazy because people who don't know anything about debate. keep
Shout out
talking
to my
about
student Robbie who loves Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, everybody is. But they like think he's good at debate. He's really, really not. And did you see the video of him on the? Oh my god, that was embarrassing. Well, it's just in this interview, and it's like, well, I have a question for you. Like, that's not how interviews work.
This is my cross. This is my cross, bro. That's what I was thinking. I'm sorry. This is my cross.
Yeah, or it's just like, well, let me answer your question with a question.
another question.
I don't know why they don't say like, great. I have a third question on top of that. Like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so I think we've established like, okay, the biggest barrier to people getting in good practice is that they're not willing to, and deep down they don't want to, because they'd rather just play rather than
Practice means knowing you're bad.
Right. Practice means knowing exactly how bad you are and how to improve. And if you're not willing to look, we were saying this earlier. I just heard this recently, but they say people say like the day you start weightlifting is the day you're small forever. Right? Like, there's no successful bodybuilders that thought they were big when they started. Like, then you wouldn't have done all that work, right? And there's no bodybuilders that kept getting bigger and was satisfied all along the way. Like, I'm having a great time.
Yeah, and body dysmorphia is a thing. It's not what we're talking about.
Right. No. We're just saying, I'm just saying, like, motivation is everything. And satisfaction doesn't just mean happy. It's not happy. You can be happy and dissatisfied, right? But with satisfaction, there's no motivation for improvement. And without motivation, there's no improvement, right? And you can be happy. You can enjoy something. If you're not enjoying the activity, then it's not working for you. Don't do it, right? And if you're not getting something valuable out of it in the process, then forget it. Because, like you say, Steve says all the time, 99% of the people who do this activity end on a loss, right? Like, by definition, one person gets to be national champion. If you are entering this activity and the only way you think it'll have value is if you end as champion, don't do it. Because it has to have some value it's giving you inherently. But beyond that, like, you just have to understand that you'll never hit a point where you feel satisfied and keep improving. It just doesn't do that.
Motivation.
Yeah.
Because we're there for a second. I think that's another thing people struggle with in terms of it. And, like, it's fine to not be motivated, but just know that you're not going to be good.
Right.
But more importantly, like, there's, like, intrinsic motivation, right? Like, from yourself, and there's extrinsic motivation that comes from other sources, right? And for a lot of kids in high school, the only reason they're doing debate is to go to Harvard or to go to Yale or whatever, right? Terrible motivation. It's not going to matter. Harvard does not care
There's
if you're a national
easier
champion.
ways to do
There's
it.
so much easier. Yeah, apparently. In the law, and they'll tell you that. But, like, yeah, there's easier ways to do it. But, like, I guess I would just say that if you are not intrinsically motivated by the debate or by any competitive discipline that you're going to try and take to its, like, sort of logical extreme, wasting your time. you're absolutely wasting your time. No one will be able to motivate you enough, right? Like, Sasan...
No trophy is shiny enough.
Sasan is one of my best friends in the world. It's going to be my wedding. Coached me, right? I was not motivated at all because I met Sasan. And he'll tell you, day one of meeting him, I was motivated to win. And I was motivated to try really, really hard and had all these questions for him and, like, all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I already had that.
When we met, he was like, you were state champion? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay. You're like, I read this book.
Grade A conspiracy. That's
yeah, he's like, and it's all about blah, blah, blah. And he started talking about League of Legends. And I'm like, okay, this is a really long analogy. But basically, you were just like, yeah, like, I want to be a state finalist. And, like, the way I'm going to do that is by working with someone who, like, can just tell me what it's going to take. And I was like, yeah, day one of meeting you, I was like, listen, dude, if we work together and you do what I say, I promise you'll get a state trophy.
Sure did.
Yeah.
I think this is a good ending point. I've talked to Sasan about this before. There's a quote. I've always wanted to have a quote associated with me. And I've worked this through revisions, and it's gotten slightly better, slightly worse. So part of it still doesn't make sense. But basically, and this is the best thing I could leave everyone with, who's like thinking about debating, who's trying to decide if they want to be good at debating, and if they can be good at debating, if they're not talented enough, if they don't have the resources, whatever. And that quote is, I never knew I could do it until I did, though I often thought I could. Right? And it's whatever, right? But basically, just bottom line, like, I always wanted to win a lot, right? And I wanted to be a state champion. I wanted to be a national champion. I never was a national champion, and I regret that every day of my life. But came pretty close twice, you know what I mean? And bottom line, though, is like, there was literally no sign that I would ever be as good as I got to.
Let's be clear, though. You were ranked number one in the nation for the majority of your last year, and you have the best 2 years, and you have the best 2-year record in...
We did pretty good. We were 72-8 in
prelims. We went to SEMs.
Yeah, we were SEMs of both national champions.
If somebody doesn't know you, it's you got close.
Yeah, we did really good. I was really proud of it. We won Mile High, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But just more importantly, like, I can't say anything besides just like I just decided to do it. Like, I decided to do it and decided that it mattered and focused on it. And like really my first 2 years, I would say, I thought I was doing the right things, and I wasn't. I just wasn't doing things. It wasn't until I got to Pacific and started working with Steve and like had like that guiding horse, or met Dallas and just talked to Dallas and saw how good Dallas was, or like John Salmon, right, who was from our region and then won the national championship in LD. Like, these people, like, I was just like, dude, I just want to be that good. And like, that's what the third thing I forgot, I just remembered. Boom, we're ending on a baby. Here we go. This is what I was talking about. For the love of God, be willing to ask better people questions.
Yeah.
That's so important. I, to this day, even as a coach now, like, I talked to Trevor, who's the coach of Berkeley, who won 1 million national championships in the last 2 years, right? Trevor's insane and a really good guy. All of those people at Berkeley are insanely talented and just crushed my dreams for years. Shout out. But, like, I just asked Trevor, like, can we just meet up sometime and just like talk about coaching, right? And like I've asked other coaches about that, right? Like, I would love to interview like Adam Testerman, Trevor, Double D, Kale, all these people who are like really successful coaches. Yeah. And I've done this within my own region for like a long time. Like, day one of being a coach, I'm like, how do you coach? What do you think is good about coaching? Like, what is your guiding philosophy? And I did this when I was a competitor. I asked Dallas, I asked John, I asked Sam Cook. I would reach out to people. Like, if I didn't know something, like, reach out to them and ask them, like, how did you deal with these situations? Especially successful people, right? Yeah. And just ask. Yeah. Like, it doesn't make you worse. And if you're like, or at the point where you're like, well, that'll make me look like a worse debater, you're fucked. Get out of the field, dude, because you can't be good and be worried about people thinking you're good. Yeah. Pick one. If you are good, if you get good enough, they'll think you're good enough.
So there's a few notes on that. The first is, a lot of people are like embarrassed and they feel like, oh, I don't want so-and-so to think I'm bad at debate. And if the person who you're asking for help is good at debate, they're going to think you're bad at debate. Like, they're going to think that they're better than you, right? If you're asking a former national champion for advice, there's no scenario in which they'll be like, this person's really good at debate.
Oh
like,
my God, they asked
right.
me.
Yeah, no. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is it doesn't have to be the national champion, right? Like, the person who got third place
Bronze
in the
medal
nation,
at the Olympics
yeah,
or something.
bronze medal at the Olympics
It would
4
love for
years
you,
ago.
mother.
Yeah, like 2 Olympics ago, bronze medal is one of the foremost experts in the world. And I promise you, no one's knocking at their door.
That's what Tim Ferriss talks about in 4 Hour Workweek, which was the other book I was reading at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, you talked about that, right? It's just like they know a lot and they're happy to share that information with you. There's not a long line of people asking. The last thing is, like, you talked about reaching out to people and just, like, asking them questions. I think people are shocked at how easy that is. I wanted to buy a book. I wanted to buy
The Nietzsche
Agon,
one,
yeah,
yeah.
Agon and Nietzsche. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I skimmed through this other book and it didn't really have... There was another... Contesting Nietzsche was the other book. And I was like, it didn't really have what I was looking for. So I saw on the back of the book that the author is a professor at some college. And at this point, I know a lot of college professors. And
their emails.
yeah, and they love emails. So I was like, I'll just find a school email. So I was just like, first initial, last name at the school. Emailed the dude. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about buying your book. This is what I'm looking for. Does it have that in there? And he emailed me back like 2 days later. And he was like, yeah, no, it's got that. You can get it from your local library or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, cool, thanks, man. Like, it's so easy.
Same thing with research papers that are behind paywalls.
Oh, yeah.
They're legally allowed to give you the research paper.
Yeah. If you have some research you're trying to read and it's behind a paywall, just look up the name of the person who wrote it, find their email address, and just email them and be like, hey, would you mind sending me a copy of this? I don't want to buy it. They'll be like, yeah.
No one else is ever going to read these.
Right.
99% of research papers never get read.
Right, that's a huge aspect of debate. When I'm doing research for a PF or LD, I'm reading these papers that people wrote like 10, 15 years ago, or like 4 years ago, and they got published in like tiny publications that no one ever gave them any attention for. Happy to do it. When we were hosting the DVC tournament, I was writing topics. I wanted to write an FCC topic. And I had a question about how something would work. So I called up the FCC. And they're like, FCC? And I was like, hey, I work at a college. I'm having a debate tournament. I have this question about this policy on your broadcast hoaxes rule. Like, what is the enforcement on the broadcast hoaxes? Like if someone violates that rule, what is the FCC empowered to do? Can you take them off the air? What do you do? And the person was like, well, I'm just a secretary, but I'll send you up to this person. And then the next person was like, yeah, I don't really know. I'll send you up to this person. Until I got connected to the vice chairman for television broadcasts in America. And I never lied about who I was or why I was asking. People were just like, yeah, I don't know the answer. Let me send you up. And I was like, it's so easy. This just give it a shot. Just try it. These people are, like, if there's someone, I don't know, whatever.
I've never had one person who I've reached out to ever be like, nah, I'm good. Like, the worst case scenario is they just didn't answer, and that almost never happens too.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them was like, oh, hey, dude, it's so good to hear from you. Like, oh, thanks so much. And that means so much that you would, like, reach out to me and whatnot. Like, it makes people feel good. And meanwhile, you're just like, yeah, they're going to think I'm shit.
Yeah.
Like,
they're probably so busy they hate helping people. They probably... Yeah. But, I don't know. Recap. What was this video about? Seemed like it was more about motivated practice rather than practice methods.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of... I guess I would say it's about the difference between outcome independent and outcome dependent thinking in terms of how you go about things, right? And just like having a goal and then what are you willing... That's the thesis. The thesis is like, what are you willing to do once you have a goal set? Yeah. And if you don't have a goal set, maybe fuck off. Like, I don't know.
And honestly, I think that's what novice is for. I think you go into novice, you have some fun, you see if you like the activity, and then you get out of novice. And at that point, if you're not able to say to yourself, this is why I'm doing the activity, here's how good I want to get, here's what it takes to get that good, and I'm willing to do it. If you don't have those boxes checked, you're going to hit a wall, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to quit debate, or you're going to debate for a bunch of years and you're going to complain about whatever, right? Well, he's never going to see this. Suki from
I know, exactly, yeah.
did speech, and his senior year, he was at NSDA, got to the final round, and I was trying to convince him after that happened to compete in college.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you're going to San Jose. They have a great program. At the very least, you pick a nationals, they'll send you there, right? And it's for free. You sign up for the class, you don't have to pay a dime. You don't have to provide judges. They will just send you to any national championship you want to go, several tournaments across the country. Like, just do it. And I gave up convincing him when he told me what happened at nationals, which was he went into that room and he did his piece. I think it was a DI or something, and he was complaining, like his gripe with the activity was that he made the judges in the room cry, and he didn't win because he wasn't clean. And he's like, how could they do that? Like, how could they decide I shouldn't win when I was the only person that made them cry, and I still didn't win? And I realized that no matter how hard Suki worked, as long as he had that mentality, he'd never be a champion. And the reason for that is what I talked to Dom about, right? It's, you have to be realistic about what it's going to take for you to win and decide, am I going to do that? Because you either don't know what it takes to win, or you're not willing to do what it takes to win. Sometimes you're not able to do it, but that's not a heartbreak, right? Maybe, I don't know. But what happened with Suki is that he just wanted the activity to be different than what it is. And you can't want it to be different and be upset that you didn't win, right? Like for me, when I stopped competing, I knew what the activity was beyond the level that I reached, and I just wasn't that interested in it. So it didn't feel like this tragedy. I was just like, that's not what I want to be good at. And so I didn't do it, and it didn't feel like this great loss. But I think people, it blows my mind how much people want to be the champion of something that they don't understand.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, to go into what you had said, it's like, yeah, I mean, I think if we reran NPTE from 2018 or whatever, I think it was 18, like, even 20 times.
Yeah.
Me and Dallas win at least one national championship.
Yeah.
I really think we would have. Like,
Yeah.
I think we were good enough to do it. We absolutely were one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the nation. We had been for a year. Mm-hmm. And we beat the ostensibly best team at the tournament, and the team that was in finals for both national championships were the only team that took a ballot off of them going into the out rounds. Yeah. And then we hit Berkeley's, at the time people thought B team, and they beat us. And that was it. That's just where the run stops.
Yeah.
But, like, we'd beaten that Berkeley team a bunch of times before. And they were a really good team, right? And, like, we were in position to win it. I'm sure we would have. We got a bunch of tries. But you do not get a bunch of tries. And, like, I felt like I did enough work. And I could have maybe done more work. I'm sure I couldn't have even made. I could have done more work.
Yeah.
I didn't. But I definitely had done enough work to win it. And we still didn't win.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And, like, I still regret it in some sense, not because I didn't work hard enough, but just because it's something I really wanted and didn't get. But now I focus my energy on, like, I'd love to coach a national champion. Like, what can I do?
Well, you have to be
that?
willing to do that, and that's so scary. It's called self-sabotage, right? And we've talked about it. It's a Wikipedia article. It's a great Wikipedia article called Self-Sabotage, and they do an experiment where they give a class that doesn't know they're a part of an experiment, which, by the way, like, college psychology departments are kind of insane.
IRB doesn't even exist.
So they give them a test that's intentionally made so that they all fail. And they're told that they can take the test again, with different questions and whatever, but the point is that everyone thinks they did badly. And they give them the option of taking this pill that, through whatever mechanism they explain, or not even just a pill, right? So whatever mechanism. It's an experiment. It's taken a few different forms. You say you can do this, and you will be more likely to do well tomorrow, or you could do this and you'll be less likely to do well tomorrow on the makeup test. And the majority of people chose the option that made them worse on the test. In fact, they linked the more anxious you were about the results to you being more likely to sabotage yourself into doing worse. And the question is why? And the reason is because people are scared that the results they're going to get are going to tell them something they don't like about themselves. They're afraid of failing a test because they don't want to not be smart. And so what they do is the night before the test, they sabotage themselves. They stay up too late, they drink too much, they do whatever, and that way when they fail the next day, they have an excuse that is beyond I'm not good enough. It's like, well, this happened, well, that happened, and they can rationalize it, right? And in order to really be good at something, you have to be willing to take that risk that I'm going to look at this clearly and I'm going to try my best, and if I fail, that is something that I'm going to have to live with. I think people are really scared to do that. And going back to like Hollywood and writing and blah blah blah, I think that's what accounts for it. The Kevin Smiths of the world, I think it's so few people are willing to take the risk of finding out that this thing that is their identity that they want to achieve is something that they're not good at. And they care more about wanting to achieve that thing than they care about achieving that thing.
You ever seen Steven, our boss Steven's business card? You ever
No,
seen
what
it?
does it say?
They say dare to fail gloriously.
Oh.
I think that's it. I think that's a good cap on it. It's just like you probably will fail, I guess, and that sucks to hear. Almost in fact, there's a good chance because so few of you will actually hear this.
Yeah.
That every single one of you has zero chance of becoming a national champion. Like long term, you just won't do it. None of you are good enough. I hope one of you is. It'd be great. Let us know. But like, almost all of you are going to fail. But you still have to decide to try. Or not.
And here's the thing. Even if you succeed, nothing happens. Yeah. Right? Then it's just a thing you did.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the rest of your life okay. And what's the movie? If you're not good enough without it, you'll never be enough with it.
I can't.
Some sports movie.
Yeah,
oh my god. No. Oh my god.
The Jews. They like steroids.
Mighty Ducks.
The Bash Brothers.
Yeah, no, but that's all it is, right? Like, people put so much of their identity into this, and they have to understand that at the end, you'll either fail and have to live with that, or you'll succeed and it won't be this thing that you imagine it will, right? Like, that's, not to get too Schopenhauer or anything.
I don't know any national champions who brag about it.
No. Dude, look at I would say objectively, the greatest accomplishment a debater can make is winning the NDT. Right? I recently looked through the list of NDT champions on Wikipedia because it has that.
And you don't know a single one of
them. They don't have even hyperlinks for the vast majority of them. Most of them just became some guy. And all of the ones that do have hyperlinks and went on to be some sort of influential or important person or whatever, when you look at their Wikipedia article, it has like a sentence about. And also they did this and were champion. And it's insane how much work that takes and how much of it. To win the NDT, no one can do that without it consuming who they are for a significant portion of time. And it'll mean nothing in the long run. But nothing means anything in the long run. And I think we put way too much of our identity and our sense of worth into these things. And at the end of the day, like, you should just do it for the sake of doing it. And
yeah, if you don't like it,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we're good there. You should practice. You should want something. You should have a goal. You should be focused. You should do
Well,
things.
and-
Or you just shouldn't.
And the
because
thing
it's
is,
not
and the
worth it.
reason why this discussion isn't a how to practice discussion is because that's irrelevant. Like, once you figure out that you want, how good you are and that you want to be better, you will easily improve. You will just figure out how to practice. It's not a problem. The much bigger barrier is what we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.